I look good 24/7, 24/7. All y'all 10s, I'm an 11. I'm an 11. Wanna know how? I don't be stressing. I don't be stressing. Cause I look good.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spoiler Warning Podcast. This is review number 836 with a review of I Love Boosters. I'm Christopher Schnese.
And I'm Stephen Miller.
And if you're joining us for the first time, the Spoiler Warning Podcast is a weekly film review program. Each week on the show, we're going to dive in, debate, discuss, and argue over the latest films coming to a theater near you. This week, we already had a review of Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Grogu. Now we are talking about I Love Boosters. We're also going to have a review of Obsession. But now, as we are in the middle, in the last episode, Stephen talked a little bit about his time at Cannes. He's going to talk a little bit more about his time at Cannes. Stephen, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I'll go a little bit quicker this time because I've already discussed two of my absolute favorite movies from the festival. One highlight from Cannes this year that I was expecting to like and did was Paper Tiger by James Gray. This is a movie starring Adam Driver and Miles Teller and Scarlett Johansson, and it's a period piece set in 1980s New York. A family who is clearly modeled somewhat after Gray's own family, because it's very similar to Armageddon Time, is living in Queens. So Miles Teller plays a dad. He's an engineer. They do okay for themselves, but they're obviously not rich. He has aspirations of, going further in life. And Adam Driver plays their uncle, Gary, who was a New York City cop for many years, and he has since retired and now is a successful businessman who has made a lot of money wheeling and dealing. He just has all sorts of connections, and he's kind of like the social life that they aspire to, right? He's the guy that Miles Teller always kind of wishes he could be. His older, more successful brother who's going out to steakhouses and drives a fancy car. And one day, brother Gary comes over and says, "Hey, I've got a new opportunity to get in on this construction project in the Gowanus Canal area of Brooklyn. You got to work with some Russian dudes, but they just need you to basically like rubber stamp a few of their things." And it seems too good to be true. And before long, they run afoul of the Russian mob. And this becomes a really intense, I would say, kind of thriller, kind of family drama about like corruption in New York and how easy it is to just, you're seeking success, but very quickly things start to unravel and they're digging themselves deeper and deeper into this hole. Miles Teller is shockingly good here. Like, I feel like I haven't specifically liked him in a long time in movies, but he is so believable as this like nerdy dad who gets in over his head in a bad situation. Scarlett Johansson is great as the mom who is like just barely holding things together as things get more and more unsettling. And Adam Driver is just so damn good. He is like all bluster. Like, you believe he can win over a room. Everyone loves him, but it's this like fake confidence. And underneath the confidence is the realization that he is just like one or two false moves away from total collapse. And this movie is just so riveting. It is exciting. It ends on one of like the coolest, I'm not even going to use a noun, something type of sequences I've seen in a long time. And it's just so well staged. And man, I had a blast with this movie. I think it is really, really, really heart palpitating and great. And I think you're going to love it when it comes out. I hope it finds a big audience because I think it is really, really just fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah. A movie that, unfortunately, I did not love, even though many of the same adjectives have been applied to it, is a movie that you and I actually saw trailers for before watching I Love Boosters. And that's a film called Hope, a Korean monster movie that is being billed as like the future of action filmmaking. Like, I saw so many positive reviews out of Cannes of like the most ingenious movie. I was sitting on the edge of my seat, 3-hour nonstop thrill ride. Like, I watched this movie hoping to be blown away, or at least to be kept awake, right? It was my last screening of the day. I shuffled multiple things around to make room for this like Korean genre film that had entered competition in Cannes and was getting rave reviews. And I thought this movie was so one note and boring. I really am perplexed by how much people are loving it. This is essentially, there is an unknown creature wreaking havoc on this town of Hope Harbor in Korea. And the police chief, I assume is his role, is trying to figure out what's going on. And after the first maybe 15 minutes of table setting, this is him chasing the monster and running from the monster and chasing the monster and running from the monster for basically 3 hours. And it is the same thing over and over and over again with really bad CG as to the monster and world building that I found like laughable. I thought it was a joke. I truly thought until toward the end of the movie that they were going to pull the rug out from under us and be like, surprise, this was all a metaphor for the human condition and the pointlessness of violence, because it was so like outlandishly repetitive. And I feel like everyone in my screening had the same reaction. Like, I heard groans, I heard sighs about like the 30th time a similar chase would happen. I could hear the audience getting restless. So I'm really, really, really surprised. This movie has a distributor. It is clearly coming out in the States. They're already, advertising it in trailers. It got rave reviews. I just don't get it. I wish I got it. I feel like this movie is going to annoy you in particular a lot, Chris, because there are attempts at world building that I think are going to make your brain fall out of your head.
So I do have one question for you about the trailer, because I heard mentioned on a podcast that like that the monster is treated as a reveal, like that you don't actually see it.
I think it takes maybe an hour.
Yeah, it's like an hour before you actually see the monster. The fucking trailer ends with a slow-mo reveal of the fucking monster. And it's
not only that, not to spoil the movie, there are iterative reveals about the look and feel of the monster, and the trailer shows all of them. Okay. It is very strange.
Yeah, because it's like, it sounds like it is trying to be Jaws for the first half of the film. Yeah. And then it's like, oh my God, here's some of the monster and more of the monster. And then it all leads to like what I assume is like, and here it is. And they're like, well, we got to get people to want to see the movie. So let's just put the here it is in the movie. Yeah. And then,
I would say the trailer is ruining it, but I feel like setting it up as like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what it is, only made it more disappointing. Because I don't think any successive answer to what is it or why is it here or tell us more about it was remotely satisfying. Okay. The best thing I can say about this movie is there is an extended, very funny sequence where an old man who was an eyewitness to the monster is recounting his story, but his story involves him getting diarrhea and his terrible diarrhea. And that made me laugh a lot. Like, that was the funniest thing by far in this movie. The actual action, I don't understand. This ends on, I swear, like a 30-minute driving chase sequence where the same thing happens every 2 minutes in perpetuity. It is... Maybe I'm going to eat my words. Maybe I was having a terrible day and it's going to come out and you're going to tell me like this is the new Mad Max Fury Road and I don't know what Stephen was smoking. But I thought this movie was just, it was fine. It was okay. I would never shit on this movie if it just like came out in February and we were watching it for the podcast. I would be like, yeah, repetitive, redundant. It's like kind of the Michael Bay movie, but hey, whatever. It's fine. But premiering in competition at Cannes and getting rave reviews and having everyone say it is like the next big thing, I felt like I was losing my mind.
Yeah, Stephen, what if half the movie was shot on GoPros and an ambulance exploded halfway through the movie?
Yeah, like I think Ambulance was much more fun than this movie, if we're being real. But if Ambulance premiered in competition at Cannes, I would also be like, what the fuck are we doing? Yeah, okay. I'll close it out with one more positive review, and this is for a film called Minotaur by, I'm going to butcher the director's name, Andrei Zvyagintsev, so a Russian filmmaker. And this is, on the surface, a family drama. It is about a man who's a successful...
Half horse.
Yep. He's... I don't even know what to do after that. So he lives in the center of a labyrinth. I think you're thinking centaur.
Oh, yeah.
Minotaurs have something too, but it's more like
Yeah, he's not the horse. He's like a bull. Like
bull. That's
bull.
right. Bull. Yeah, it's a Taurus. Yeah, exactly.
Centaur's the half horse.
Yep. Anyway, he's in the center of a maze, but the maze is metaphorical. The maze in this case is his marriage. He is married to a woman who he suspects to be cheating on him. And so by day, he's the successful CEO, but they're feeling a bunch of pressure because Russia has invaded Ukraine and troops are being called to be sent to the front line. And so he's being asked to supply them, basically to get people in his company enlisted. But he is distracted at work because he thinks his wife is having an affair, and it drives him nuts. And this movie, I don't want to spoil like anything about where this movie goes, except to say that it is like a really, really intense, psychologically thrilling family drama about this man's kind of unraveling as he tries to figure out what's going on with his marriage, and also a very clear commentary or metaphor for Russia and empires in general and what happens when your control starts to slip. And you maybe want to reassert control, even though you don't even remember what it is that you loved about the other person or your subjects to begin with. You know, you start to want the status quo, even if it is destructive. It's true in his marriage. It's true in wars started by other countries. And I thought it was just like a very, very, very... I'm stating this as if the metaphor is on the surface. I think it's actually very nuanced and subtle, and I'm not 100% sure it's what the director was going for, but to me, it was just like riveting and tickled my brain, and it has one of the more well-staged wordless sequences I've seen in a long time. This was kind of one of the surprise hits of the festival that I was very, very into, and I think you're also going to be very into it when it comes out in the States. And that is Minotaur.
All right, Stephen. Are you ready to get into our review of I Love Boosters?
Yeah, let's get Minotaur into it.
All right, let's take a listen to the trailer for Boosters and then come back and give everybody a review.
What would be your biggest challenge in a job like this?
I shop here a lot, and I feel like I should have it all. So I take it all home, eat it up, and shoot it out my eyes. I just feel like, give it to me. It's mine anyway.
That is such a good answer.
What's a booster?
Somebody that steal clothes from the store and sell it at a discount price?
It's like community service.
I call it triple F. Fashion, forward, philanthropy. I know how to spell philanthropy. Branding, though.
Together, we empty out every single Metro designer in the Bay Area.
The Velvet Gang, they're boosting from my stores.
Missy Smith knows we exist.
They take my shit and sell it as they're low-class urban bitches. With all due respect to urban bitches. I'm an innovator making fucking art.
Why are the nipples so big?
All right, so that was the trailer for I Love Boosters, a group of shoplifters who like to steal clothes and then sell them at a discount price. They call themselves boosters. They are trying to take on a woman and her empire of clothes making. Yeah. Steve Miller, what did you think of Boosters?
I mean, I love boosters. You know, Pfizer, Moderna, Joel Kim, those Pokemon packs, the thing I sat on when I was a kid in the car. Love all of them. The movie, though, I could come up with more, I think. The movie is a lot. I want to say I admire I love boosters. The audacity.
I like boosters.
Yeah, the creativity. This, even in comparison to Sorry to Bother You, which I think everyone remembers Sorry to Bother You as the central metaphor, the concept of Lakeith Stanfield doing the white voice.
Yeah.
And people tend to forget the horse people toward the end.
Who are not Minotaurs?
Right. They're closer. Probably centaurs a little closer.
Yeah, they're probably closer
to
Minotaurs than my assumption of the other guys.
Yeah, I Love Boosters feels like, what if Boots Riley took that impulse, but instead devoted like 5% of the movie to the memorable metaphor and 95% to we are going to go off the fucking rails. It is an interesting movie. I'm going to admit the first like 30 minutes or 45 minutes, I was not feeling it. I feel like I loved the look and feel. Like you can see it in the trailer. It's colorful. The fashion is outrageous. Characters are very like memorable and specific. Like I loved the look and feel, but it felt like a music video. Like at least in my screening, the audio mix was such that often I could barely hear the dialogue over the music. Like this movie was not trying to ease me in with any kind of place setting of who are these people, what do they want, what is the state of the world, what are the conflicts that we're going to engage in. The movie is like dives right into vibes, right? We are vibing.
Because Will Poulter was controlling the vibes dial.
Yeah, exactly. Like the whole movie feels like Will Poulter cranked the vibes dial to maximum vibes, right? At least at the start. Like the Velvet Gang is a group of boosters who boost things and resell them. But beyond that, we don't know that much about them. Like, what is their livelihood? Like, what is the gig like? Do they need more stuff? Are they running low? We immediately are thrust into, like, they're here. Demi Moore is terrible. Will Poulter is a goofball. Let's just dive in. And I was kind of like, oh boy. Even at like 2-something hours, I was afraid that this was going to be a lot of movie to try to follow if I was like just being thrown into the deep end. And then it does something where it gets progressively wackier until it loops back around into me being like totally on board for it.
Yeah.
This movie just has, if this movie were only we are following boosters and they're going to do the ultimate boosting, and it will be like a heist movie, I would walk away being pretty unsatisfied with this movie, being like, hey, the vibes are right, but man, this movie just did not have it. Like it didn't have enough to sustain me. And instead, Boots Riley like levels up with a new thing that happens and levels up with a new sci-fi thing on top of the sci-fi thing, and then levels up again and again and again until it becomes so outrageous that like by the end, I just have to kind of golf clap him and be like, no one else was ever going to make this movie.
Yeah.
It isn't all successful. Like, I think this movie is extremely wacky and extremely didactic. And half the time I mean that as a compliment, and half the time I mean it as a criticism. Like, sometimes the goofiness serves the story, and sometimes it just feels like a half thought that he didn't necessarily feel like stitching together in a coherent way. Sometimes this movie is didactic in a way that I love, where it is like, stop the clock. I'm going to tell you exactly what the fuck I mean. I want to make sure everyone knows what the message of the movie is, because this is a protest and this is me drilling it into your head. And sometimes it feels like I don't know how to communicate this thought in a way that fits the storyline, so I'm going to just make characters say the thing out loud, and it will feel like a monologue that goes on forever. There's a lot of ideas here, and I think half of them work, half of them don't. Ultimately, I was very happy that I went on this ride, but I think it is much more messy than Sorry to Bother You, and I'm still kind of trying to grapple with what the hell I just witnessed. Like, I think the best comparison, weirdly, I'm only realizing this now while talking about it, is Nirvana the band, the show, the movie, where it's like level up and level up and level up, so I don't the joy is knowing that you made the movie in the end. And like, that is kind of how I felt here by the time this movie finished, is like, I'm happy Boots Riley made this movie somehow. I don't know that it is all successful, but I think as a message, as a statement of like, this is what I'm about, it is a lot of fun. How did you feel about I Love Boosters?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a film that is incredibly fun and is a grab bag of ideas, like this film is boosting ideas from Boots Riley's brain, right? Like this is running in and grabbing everything off the shelf and just running to the car with it and then driving away with it. And
Yep.
we are in the car barreling down the street and just being like, whoa! And like, there is an aspect to that is fucking great. Like, I'm in the car, my head's out the window and I'm screaming and I'm having a great time. If I have to then like organize all the shit when we get to our location and then have to like figure out what I'm going to keep and what I'm going to take away, then I'm like, actually, I don't know what to do all the stuff. I had a great time with that, but like, I don't like, now I need to run away from the vehicle because I don't want to get caught like with all this merchandise. My own metaphor is breaking down now.
Yep.
Like it's a thing where like, I don't think it all logically is cohesive. Like its own things start to fall apart, you know, like to have a film that is going to bring into this idea of workers' rights, but like the main character's reason for trying to take down the antagonist of the film don't actually fit with the workers' right narrative because they themselves are benefiting from the existence of the corporation they're taking down. Like they are trying to take down the corporation because of a personal vendetta against them, but they themselves make their livelihood off of the backs of the workers that are theoretically trying to rally against the existence of the corporation. So it's like this stuff doesn't logically hold itself together. Even if people team up together, their motivations aren't working together. And I don't think the characters learn lessons. Even if they do team up together, I don't think they actually learn the emotional lesson necessary to get to the place they get to by the end of the film. So it's like, I don't know the message it's trying to communicate, even if we, the audience, are supposed to emotionally get to that place by the end of the film where it's like, I mean, I feel what you want me to feel, but I don't believe this works the way it's supposed to work. So there's like a lot of stuff that like I
can intellectualize a little bit on that point. So there's a side plot in this movie featuring, I learned in the credits, Don Cheadle, which is that there's this kind of community organizing, people helping people side thing that Naomi Ackie's character is very into, which is a pyramid scheme. Like it is literally a pyramid. They draw a pyramid. You're going to help other people. They're going to help other people. And then all the way at the top, you get Oprah. And I think what Boots is saying very obviously with that, but more broadly, is there are these ideas of community being hijacked into a sort of grind set, I'm going to make as much as I can, flip as much as I can culture as a way of saying fuck you to the man. And I think not that he is looking down on the boosters. Like this movie literally comes from a song that his band had that I've heard many years ago called I Love Boosters, right? Like he is actually waxing poetic about these people who like clothed him, you know, and his family. But I think the boosters, their mentality at the start is fuck these corporations, I'm going to get my bag. And I think if there is an arc to their awareness, it is that the I'm going to get my bag becomes less important over the course of the movie. And I think that is at least kind of coherent, right, with how the movie ends compared to where it begins.
Do you think it actually becomes unimportant to them?
I think it mostly does, with, I guess, one exception involving different kind of suits that we don't need to talk about here. There's a choice they make specifically to not materially gain.
I guess for me, We don't have to get into full blown spoilers, but for me, a decision once doth not a decision permanently make. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I can choose to leave behind this bag of money. It doesn't mean I am giving up all bags of money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
I don't think they're never gonna boost again just because they give up this lot of Christie's.
Without going into spoilers, the actual end of the movie involves a brick and mortar location, and my interpretation of said location is it is being run at essentially no profit and is different from the way boosting had worked before. Okay. I haven't thought about it until right this second, but that is my interpretation of it.
Okay. I might have lost the thread at that point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, with that said, though, this movie is a jumble of ideas for sure. Yeah. And there is a little bit of the anarchy, fuck the system, while also being like, you know, it is different to be like, fuck the system because I have a personal vendetta, and fuck the system, let's build something better. And you're right, those two things are kind of at odds.
I mean,
and the movie sort of playing with both of them.
It goes back to our Eddington conversation where sometimes those things can eventually merge.
Yeah. Yeah, you are correct. But yeah, and then there are things that don't necessarily merge, like someone who eats pussy and sucks out your soul, theoretically. I don't think that's a metaphor for capitalism.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it is.
Yeah.
I could see how it could be.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I can get there too, you know.
But yeah, I think this film is doing a lot of really fun things, and I think that like it's another one of those films where like I was actually fine and on board with the beginning of this film. Like I could have watched a film that was just the boosters doing their boosting thing. Like what kind of lost me in the beginning was I didn't believe they were actively getting away with the stuff, because there was things where it was too. I knew
the movie's not even trying. It's not even trying to feel like a heist.
Yeah. Like I clocked that it was like not. It was too. Like they would set up an elaborate plan to distract people, but then once they were outside the door, they were just casually walking to their car. With obviously they had stolen like 5 racks worth of clothes, and I'm like, okay, well, okay, something's clearly not fully real right now. Something feels a little bit off. But as the film started to layer on weirder and weirder things, I was like, okay, this film is just getting what there's just weird, fantastical stuff getting added, and then there's a point where they're watching security footage where you're just like, all right, we're watching a completely different movie now, and I'm fully on board with whatever the hell this film is doing. And then it just became like, from then it just starts ramping up and going and going and going. And then, as he said, by the end, you're just kind of like,
yep. It really, I started from a lower place and it just won me over so completely by the end. It was kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think we did it. I mean, I guess shout out Keke Palmer. I think continues to be a star. She definitely carries a lot of this movie, and I thought she was hilarious. I do like Demi Moore and Will Poulter's kind of heel turns in this movie, even though they are both playing caricatures who are so thinly, they're intentionally the most ridiculous characters on the planet. But I think they're having fun. Everybody knows what movie they're in.
Yeah. Cool. Well, should we get to verdicts?
Sure.
All right. Stephen Miller, if you were going to give this a must-see, recommend with a caveat, wait for rental, pass with a caveat, or a must-avoid, what would you give it?
I'm going recommend with a caveat. Caveat being this movie is messy. I like your metaphor. This is boosting from Boots Riley's brain. It's just a million ideas moving at full speed, and you either are in for them or you are not. I think there are times that it really does show the seams, when it could have used some tightening. That's the end of my clothing metaphors. But the story of this movie, the feeling at the end as it keeps escalating and escalating and escalating, is one for me of just thrill that somebody made this and got it funded and were committed enough to their vision to pull it off. And so even if I think the concepts are still messy at the end, it is just a blast to have seen this movie. I left on a high. So I definitely recommend people check it out.
Yeah, it's a recommend with a caveat from me as well. This is one of those films where you kind of keep looking around to see if everybody else is watching the same movie as you. You're like, what am I watching? This is wild. But it just keeps amping up and amping up and amping up. And the last the whole last the climax of the film is just a ramp up that is just, it just crescendos and crescendos and crescendos and crescendos to a point where you're just like, that was the most wild thing that I've seen. It's conceptually as wild as the ending of The Substance, I think.
Yeah. I agree.
In more ways than one, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not least of which because it still ends with Demi Moore on a stage.
Yeah. Big fan. People should check this film out. That is going to do it for our review of I Love Boosters. Stephen Miller, if people want to find you throughout the week, where can they do that?
People can find me at Blue Sky at sdavidmiller or sdavidmiller.com, or you can go to decodingeverything.com for my canned dispatches, including reviews of the movies I talked about today and more.
People can find me at ChristopherInRealLife.com or ChristopherIRL on a number of social platforms. You can find the podcast over at thespoilerwarning.com, where you get a bunch of the back episodes of the show. If you want to subscribe to the show, you can do so on Overcast, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever podcasts are found. If you want to know when the episodes go live, you can follow us at twitter.com/spoilerwarning, facebook.com/thespoilerwarning, or instagram.com/thespoilerwarning. If you want to get a hold of us directly, you can send an email to fans@thespoilerwarning.com, or you can use the contact form on our site. Music for this episode will come from a track selected from artlist.io, so hopefully you're enjoying that. That's the end of this episode. We have one more episode to record for you, and that is a review of Obsession, so you will find out if we were obsessed about that film. See you in a moment.
Bye.
I'll be stressing, 'cause I look good 24/7. I'm hot 24/7. Guys, I'm way fucking hotter than you. You're hot, but not like me.